Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Openshift online meetup. Um, my name is Chakradhar Jonagam. This is my Twitter handle. If you want to reach out to me after the session. So in this webinar, we are going to discuss on how to convert your source code directly to a Docker image without actually writing a Docker file. Okay. We'll discuss why we have to do that. Why can't we use Dockerfile? What's the need behind that? So we'll discuss all of those aspects as well. Um, so with that, I'm going to jump into some of the agenda and assumptions of today. So I'm going to assume that you have some basic knowledge of Docker. I'm going to cover a bit, but I assume that you have a bit of how Docker works or how you basically use Docker files to convert your application into a Docker image. Okay. But I'll give some context, a very high level context. So this is our agenda today. So we will try to understand what is Docker at a high level, and what is a Docker file, and what is the process of converting source to your Docker image, and we'll do it with a demo. Okay. So first one, what is a Docker? Docker is it may not be 100% true, but just for the sake of understanding, think of your applications like lightweight, converted into a lightweight VMs. So the only thing is you don't have any extra additional OS layer. You basically treat your processes running on your operating system as lightweight VMs. Okay, so you get the goodness of whatever a VM provides, but they won't add a full operating system on top of it. It's just a process that is a controlled process. You can control how much CPU memory that process has, and also it has its own file system. It has its own networking namespace, all these things. So at the end, you feel like you have a full-blown VM, but it's only a process on your operating system. So that's what a Docker container is. Okay. And then how do you run your applications as Docker containers then? So for running your applications as Docker containers, you write something called as Docker file, and that Docker file has all the metadata or all the syntax for converting your application into a Docker image. Okay, so we'll see a sample how to convert. Let me show you a typical Docker file. Like it has, let me take you to an example I've written. It's on my repo if you want to take a look. So it's in OpenShift examples. In this section, if you go to, let me see, I have a Spring-based example. So let's take a look on this. One second. I've also, give 1 second. So this is another one. If we go to repositories and Maven, yeah, this one. Okay, so this is a Docker file. Typically, it's a simple text file. You have something called as from, that's your base image. So you're starting from a base CentOS image and installing Java and then Maven, and then basically adding your source code and doing the npm install, and all of these are captured as steps inside your Docker file. Okay, and based on this Docker file, when you do Docker build and then begin this, it gives you a Docker image. Okay, that's what it is. 1 second, let me mute. Okay. So you from your Docker file, you basically convert your application into a Docker image. Okay, so all the steps for conversion are written inside your Docker file. That's what Docker file is. That's our second one. Okay, so you can use Docker files for converting your applications into Docker image. But most people are like whoever gets started, might not be aware of how to write a Docker file, okay, or how to use Docker for your applications. So that's when source to image process comes into picture, okay. So we'll see how does it look on a VM, like how do you deploy on a VM, and how do you deploy on a how do you deploy using Dockerfile, and how do you deploy using a source to image process. All three process we'll look into it. But the demo is only on the source to image process. I'm just going to go through the theoretical part of other two. So if it is on a CentOS VM or like any typical VM, what you do is basically, let's take an example of Node.js application. What do you do? If you get a CentOS VM, you install Node.js, like yum install Node.js, and then uh, like appropriate version. And then what you do is basically clone your source code, and then you do a npm install for installing all the dependencies, and then you say npm start, right? So this is a typical process for if you are doing it on a VM, okay. Same case applies if you're doing for a Java as well. You just you clone your source code, do a maven build, and then maven run, like maven run, right? So the same process. Um, and almost all other languages also have a similar kind of process as well. Okay, this is when you do in a traditional VM based deployment. Whereas in Dockerfile, you just mentioned you create a Docker file, like a text file named as Docker file, and then you say from this base image, you basically have some run commands like install Node.js, and then copy your source code, dot means the current folder, into a specific location of the container, and then do npm install and then npm start, like something like that. Okay, you may not have run here, you may have some command here, but that's how you write it inside a Docker file. So I'm not going to cover the Dockerfile aspect of it. There are plenty of examples out there in YouTube. You can check them out. But specifically, I'm interested in the converting source to source directly to image. Okay. So the main problem why we are discussing this is not everyone wants to write a Docker file, or not everyone knows how to write a Docker file, right? Sometimes I just want to code and then stop worrying about converting my applications into containers. I just want to commit source code source, and then that should be converted into a Docker image. That's what I'm targeting about. So OpenShift is a container orchestration tool. Like if you want to run your Docker containers in multiple machines and orchestrate them, like maintain them, you use OpenShift. OpenShift also provides a standalone tool called S2I, that's called source to image. And this S2I is a standalone tool as well. It can be used independent of OpenShift. It need not be always combined with OpenShift. So you can just download that binary and then start using it for your regular Docker development. It need not be OpenShift. Okay. So where do you find that binary? If you go to this link, I've opened it already. It's called OpenShift / source to image, and go to releases section here. And based on your environment, if it is a Linux machine, you have a binary for Linux. If you have a Windows machine, there is a exe for Windows. If it is Mac, there is a binary for Mac as well. Okay, so you just download this binary and add it to your path. Okay, so that when you type S2I like this, you get a tool. Okay, so this is your first step for converting your applications into using a source to image. So this is how you download your binary. Okay, so once you have that binary, you can get started on the process of source to image. Okay, so let's try to understand some background here. Okay, how OpenShift works. How does it work? Okay, you said I can directly convert my source code into Docker image. It's totally true for developers, like a common developers who doesn't want to write any Docker file, but someone has to create a builder image which does that operation. Okay, Maybe someone like you who are interested in Docker, maybe writing a Docker, creating this builder image, and people who doesn't know Docker, they can use your builder image. Okay, but somehow someone has to create that builder image. Okay, so maybe it's you, or maybe someone from your ops team will create that and you use it. Okay, so there is someone who knows Docker very well. We call it Docker Ninja. Okay, so and he or she is going to create a Node.js builder image. Okay, um, uh, that's your base image, which has all the goodness of sourced image. Okay, so once the OpenShift Ninja creates a builder image, or your operation teams create a builder image, we name it something like Node.js builder image. Okay, we name it something like that, and that's a Docker image again. It's a pure Docker image, nothing added to it specific to OpenShift. Once you have the builder image, all your developers will basically refer that builder image, combine them with a source code like your Java source code or Node.js source code, and then combine like this. So S2I build. So S2I is a binary tool. Build is a keyword, and then put your source code where your source code is, and then this is a builder image that your ops team or your OpenShift Ninja has provided, right? So refer that image that acts as like your base image, and your application image will be named like this. Okay, this is a future image. Okay, once you combine your source code and your builder image, you will get a application image. That's what it means. Okay, feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions if you have any. But the process is very simple. All you do is you have your source code, you have your base builder image, and then you get a application image out of it. As simple as that. So this is what it looks like: your source code, builder image, application image. So when your builder image is combined with your source code, you'll get a application image. This is a Docker image, and again, this is also a Docker image. Okay, pure Docker images, nothing specific to OpenShift at all. You can use it, like I said, you can use it like a standalone tool. We'll see that today. So but someone has to create that builder image, right? Some expert has to create that builder image. By default, OpenShift provides a lot of out of the box builder images for Node.js, PHP, and Java, a lot many languages. But if you want to have your own builder image, you can create that. So we are going to cover that piece, like how to create your own builder image. Okay. So let's do that. So for creating a builder image, what you do is you basically create a Docker file. So remember that when I said deploy your applications without writing Docker files, it's for your developers, not for your operations or someone who is well versed with Docker already. Okay, so this process is for operations, not for a common developer who wants to deploy applications as containers. So the statement still holds true. Okay, so so you basically start with a base CentOS image or whatever operating system of your choice. It may be Ubuntu, or it may be any operating system that you want to start with. And then you have similar commands like run. You basically install Node.js just like you have done in Dockerfile. It's no different. The only two things that you see are changing are these two steps. Okay, so you basically create a folder called .s2i, and then we add some binaries there. I will discuss what are those binaries in a minute. But you basically create a folder called .s2i and then add it to a location inside your image, and then create this label. Okay, so this label, it says OpenShift S2I scripts -URL. This is a generic Docker label, and then add it to a specific location. Okay, so when you create this label, the builder image will understand that when I have the source code ready, I have to use the scripts mentioned inside this folder to be able to do npm install and then npm start, like running and assembling the source code. Okay, and also if it is in case of Maven, it understands that you need to do Maven build and Maven run. All these pieces will be done basically using the scripts provided in this folder. Okay. So what are those scripts? I'm going to discuss in a minute. But the only two changes that you do for your making your base image as a builder image is basically these two steps. Okay. There are additional steps. These are basically making your application not run as a root. It's basically using a random user ID for running your applications. This step is not needed, but this is recommended, okay? Because you don't want to run your applications as root. Okay, so these are the only two steps. Take a look again. It's pretty easy. You create a folder called .stui, create some files there, and then add it to a specific location, and you create a label. Okay, that's all you need. So let's see what are those files there. Okay, so there are two important files there. One is assemble, and the other one is run. Okay, so let's go and take a look how those files look like. I have example created here. Let me walk you through that. So I have two files which basically residing in the STI folder, which is assemble. Assemble means when the container, the builder image starts, all your source code will be put into temp src by default. Okay, from this you may want to put it anywhere you want so that you can perform like installs or whatever complex build process you want to perform. Okay, so what I'm doing is from the temp src, which is automatically uploaded, I'm going to put it in a separate folder, and then I'm going to go to that folder and then do a npm install. Okay, that simple process. If you have a complex build process also, you can do that here. Okay, it's totally possible. All this is doing is basically a shell script. That's it. Okay, the only point you need to understand is whenever the builder image starts, it uploads your source code into a specific location, that is temp src. Okay, and then there is a run file which basically tells how to run your application. Okay, so in case of Java, it might be something else like Java space, like jar. I mean, I'm not a Java expert, but you basically have that Java initiation command, right? Or maybe Maven run command. You put that inside your run file here. Whereas in assemble, you tell how to build your applications. Okay, pretty simple. So once you have these two files, OpenShift will understand that if I want to build my application, I will use this file. If I want to run my application, I will use this file. Okay, it understands that. How does it understand? It based on this label. Okay, so you said you create a label that your build scripts are at this location, which is basically you are copying it here. Okay, as simple as that. So that's the process of your creating a builder image. We are going to create that builder image. So let's take a simple Node.js application. I created a folder which is an empty folder. Okay, I'm going to start from fresh. I have a Node.js application, but remember that this is applicable for all kinds of application, not just Node.js. It is applicable for maybe your Java applications as well. Okay, so I have a Node.js application, pretty common Node.js application. I haven't done any specific things related to S2I or OpenShift. Okay, this is a very generic Node.js application. I have a package.json similar to your maven.xml file where you mention all the dependencies. So package.json has all the dependencies. Okay, and then you have a server.js, which is the actual implementation of your application. Okay, this is basically a REST API which exposes hello world and whatever version it is running on and the host name on which it is running. And there's a health endpoint, cancer endpoint. These don't really matter for you. All it is basically is a REST endpoint, REST API. Okay, in the same pattern, you can do it for the Java applications as well. It's no different. So once you have this application source code, I want to convert this application into a. I want to convert this source code into a Docker image. Okay. So the first step, like I said, in this process is create a builder image. So this image. Okay, how do you create that builder image? You take a base image, which may be a CentOS or RHEL or Ubuntu. You combine your source code S2I scripts, like I said in this, and then you basically do a Docker build that will give you a builder image. Okay, this builder image plus source code will you give you a application image. Okay, so we are at this point. So we are in the process of creating a builder image. So let's do this. So we'll take a CentOS base image. We'll add some source to image scripts, which are basically shell scripts, nothing magic. And then we'll create a builder image. So let's do that. So I'm in a S2I demo folder. It has nothing in it. I'm going to create a folder called .s2i. Okay. And then also S2I bin, where I put my files. And also another file that is Docker file. And then I get started with my base image. So my base image will be like a CentOS base image. Okay, from Openshift, this will pull the image from Docker Hub. Okay, so base CentOS 7. So from a CentOS image, I will get started. What I want to do is I want to install Node.js first. Okay, I have base CentOS image. On the CentOS image, I want to install Node.js. Okay, this can be Java also, like I've shown you, but in this case, I'm using basically a Node.js installation. Okay, so I have some commands handy here. I'm going to just copy them. So hope you don't mind. So these are two commands. See. Basically a curl command, and then basically adds that repo, and then you basically do yum install node.js. Okay, pretty simple one. So I'm going to copy that. So what this is doing is, let me take out the other duplicate run here. So what this is doing is, it is fetching the source code like repo, and then we basically do a yum install node.js, so that node.js will be installed. Okay, that's it. Once the node.js is installed, we want to add our S2I scripts. Okay, so what we are going to do is, we have a current folder called .s2i, and we want to add it to user local. You can add it to anywhere, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so I want to add it to user local S2i. Only thing is, when you mention this label, you should be pointing it to the right location. That's all. Okay, so I'm going to mention this label. So I've added it to user local S2I folder, and then I mentioned this label that my source to image scripts are located at this folder. Okay, that's all. So this is you have partially done your builder image. My application is running on 8080 port, so I'm going to expose that port. Okay, because popular orchestration tool needs to understand that where your application is running, so that they can expose the appropriate port. So you basically have this metadata. Once you have that, I'm going to do some checks to basically tell that don't run my application with root. I run with some user context lock called user1001, but you can create your own user and then add that also. But I'm just using the numerical user ID. Okay, it totally works. It doesn't really matter. Okay, and then this is just a dummy command. You don't need to have it. It doesn't really hurt anything. So I'm just having it. Okay, so we installed Node.js. We added our source to image scripts, and then we created a label. That's all is important. Okay, so once we have that, I have a Docker file, and I have a source to image folder. Okay, but there are no assemble and run scripts inside this. Assemble means how to install your application, and run means how to run your application. Okay, so I'm gonna create I'm going to create the two files. Okay, so I'm going to create assemble file now. So how do I want to assemble? So by default, your source code will be present in temp src when you do a H2I build. So from that, I'm going to copy it to a known location. Okay, so it is somewhere in app root src. Okay, so let me just double check that so that I don't use the wrong one. So app root, that's all. Okay, so once I do that, it's going to copy into that folder. And after copying, I want to go to that folder and do npm install or maven build. Okay, so it's same process. I want to go into that, and then they say npm install. Okay, I can just do it in one command. I just say npm install. So that will do the installation part. Remember to make this shell script executable so that you don't see any permission things. And after that, how to run your application. So you have to create two files, how to run your application and how to build your application. So I'm going to say all it needs is npm start, right? If it is maven, it is something like maven run command or something like that. It's very simple. Okay, so I have two files now. I'm going to make this also executable. That's it. Okay. So all I did is I created a Docker file. I created a S2I folder with appropriate scripts. That is assemble and run scripts. That's it. Once I have that, I'm going to create a builder image. Okay. So let's say Docker build minus t means name, like give it a name. I'm going to call node.js builder image. Okay. And then put a dot, that means current folder. It is going to get CentOS base image, get the Node.js dependency, like install Node.js, and then it's going to perform all other activities, which is basically copying your S2I scripts, and then they basically make a Docker image out of it. Okay, it is doing all that process now. It is installing Node.js now. Once a Node.js is installed, it is going to copy S2I scripts. So it is copied S2I scripts and then assign a label, which is just like a metadata, and then expose our port, and then change the permission of that folder. Okay, and run in the context of a random user 1001. It can be your name also. So if you do Docker images, you got a Node.js builder image. Okay. So we have a Node.js builder image now. At this point, we have a builder image like this. Once we have builder image, we can directly combine it with source code and create an application image. Okay. So before I do that, let me check if I have any questions. How creepy? Yes, I will share once I'm done with the session. Should the names of assemble and run should be the same, or can rename it other? So these are constant names. So it should be always assemble and it should be always run. Okay, these are like keywords for OpenShift to or your Docker builder image to understand how to run your application. Okay, so you should not change those names. You cannot. So all right, let's go back. So we have builder image now. This is when your operations role will be complete. Your operations has told that like this part is done now. Yeah, this part is done. Once you have the base builder image, a developer comes in and developers ask operations that what's the image I should use to basically convert my source code into a Docker image. Okay, that's when you say use this image. Okay, Node.js dash builder image. So as a developer, I will not write any Docker file. All I do is refer to this base builder image. Okay, so let's shift our role, and then let's think of it as I'm a developer now. Okay, I'm on a new new system. All I have done is Docker pull and then this Node.js builder image so that I get that image. So don't worry about developer writing any Docker files. All he needs to have is that Docker image. That's it. So I'm a developer now, and I have a Node.js builder image which is given by operations, and then I want to convert my application into Docker image. Okay. So my application is here. This is my application. So remember that I'm not writing any Docker file. All I'm doing is S2I, which is a binary tool which you downloaded in the beginning. And then I'm saying Node.js builder. This is provided by operations. I did not write this. Okay. And just put a tilde here and then give the source code address. Okay. So let me take the source code address. That's your, so I'm sorry, I just messed up the syntax with the OpenShift command. So S2I, and then I say build command. Okay. And for this build command, it needs to know where your source code is. So my source code is here. And then it needs to know where your builder image is. So that's on my machine. So I have this is a image created given by operations. And then I want to name my application as my Node.js app. Okay. Let me make it bigger so you can see it. Let me also clear and show it again. So it's clear for you. So this is how it looks like. So S2I build, it's a command where your source code is, and what is the base builder image that is provided by your operations, and what is the name of the image that you want to name your application as. Okay, that's all. Okay, I did not write as a developer. I did not write any Node.js. Okay, let me see what is this. User local. Okay, let's. Looks like I have some typo there. Let me fix that. By the way, can we really build a container out of a builder image without source code? Yes, you can build. You can basically run your builder image just like you run Docker image, but there is no process that holds on to that container. So it basically starts and then it dies. Okay, that's how it is. But it's basically a Docker image. Oh, sorry. Okay. So it looks like I have some syntax error. Let me look at my Docker file. Okay, I'm on a I'm in the wrong folder. So S2I, and let me double check with my original example so I don't mess up. So it's a very tricky that you need to have the right like backslash and all. So just make sure. Oh yeah, I forgot I put a bin folder. That's where my scripts are. That's why it failed. Let me also double check other things. User S2I local. That's it. Now it should be good. I'm going to build it again so that because I changed it. So once you have the builder image is ready now. Now I'm going to execute the same command. Now it's going to get the source code. Okay, some other mistake I've done. Let me see. Let me double check. URL equals to image. Okay. Looks like everything is good. Let me see. Okay, this looks good. So it says it cannot find package JSON. Why? So if you want to debug this, your builder image, it's pretty easy. All you do is like you have your builder image, right? So Docker images. This is your builder image. So let's go into that. Docker run. If you put -it, it means interactive mode, and then sh. So you are inside your builder image, and you can see you are at opt app root src folder. Okay, you don't see anything because you did not add anything here. and your run scripts are at user local s2i. You have assemble and run, which is good. Okay, so you have all your assemble scripts. That's your builder image. I'm going to try it one more time and see. So S2I build his source code, your base image. So let me. This is how it looks like. S2I, your source code, your base image, and your application image, which seems to be fine. Okay. It says it cannot find package.json file. Oh yeah, so it's yeah, I did a mistake. So it's looking for package.json in the app root directory, which is basically it should look inside the src folder. That's where I made a mistake. Okay, that's totally my fault. I'm gonna change S2R script. So you see that assemble script, right? So you cd it into the app root folder, not into the src folder. That's where I failed. Okay. Sorry about that. It's pretty easy, like compile, because most of these things are already cached, so you don't really see issues. So once I have that, I'm gonna do that step again, like converting your source code to image. So you see it read the package.json and has done the npm install. So you see all the dependencies got installed, and the resultant is basically another application image, another Docker image, that is my Node.js app, right? So that's what you have given here. So my Node.js app image. So from this builder image, you combine your source code and you got a application image. Okay. So this is a pure Docker image, nothing, no impurities added because of the S2I process. If you want to test it out, I can just do Docker run minus p means it will expose all the ports, and then I want to run my application. So it is my application is now running on 8080 port inside my container. Okay, but for my local host, it might be pointed to a different port. So this is pointed to the container 8080 port is pointed to 32770 of my local host. Okay, I can make it to run on other like ports also. It's totally possible. But I'm going to use a host port that is 32770. 32770. Oh, sorry. Okay, so my application is up. You can see my application is running on this. Okay. So as a developer, what I've done is basically just run this command. Okay. Did I do any Docker files? No. All I've done is this is my source code. This is the ops provided builder image, and this is my application image. And go and build a application image out of it. And I got a pure Docker image, no impurities added. You can run it anywhere. Even if you don't want to use OpenShift, if you want to use it inside a Swarm orchestration tool, you can do it. If you want to use it on some other orchestration tool, you can do it. So it's basically a pure Docker image. Okay. I'm going to see if we have any questions. Right, no questions. So does anybody have any questions of this whole process? So we are at this point, combined our source code and then converted into a application image. This is this piece. Okay.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
So Chakradhar, I'm just how is this different from the usual way of creating Docker image? I see a little bit of difference, but I don't think I'm getting the gist of it. So, I mean, if you can be a little more,
Yeah.
if you can explain. Yeah, thanks.
So if I understand correctly, you're asking how is it different from writing a Docker file, or is that what?
Correct.
Okay.
In a Docker here, right? I mean, as well.
Yes. So going to the initial problem, right? Like um, if you have a big organization, few people know Docker and few people doesn't know Docker. Okay. So and writing a Docker file is no simple task. Um, you should be looking at the layers like do you have redundant layers, or is your layering structure all right, or you need to have some security aspects like most people they don't use best practices for running containers in production. They just go with root privilege, like they don't use any other best practices for writing Docker files. Not everyone is well versed with the concepts behind how to make an efficient Docker file which doesn't use a lot of disk space on your host. So if you're not utilizing your layers well, it's going to use all your disk space, and you basically run into many issues. So writing Docker files itself is a very, I would say, it's easy. It's easy for beginners if you want to get started. But writing efficient Docker files is still a challenge. And also, not everybody wants to write Docker, or not everybody wants to create their applications as like Docker files. Okay, so what this does is few people like who know Docker well, they will create a builder image, and all other developers will basically use that builder image, and all they do is this step. So the one I said here, S2I build. Okay, so once an operation folk or a Docker uh, who knows a person who knows Docker well, they create this builder image, and after that a developer comes in, installs this S2I binary on his or her machine, and then says S2I build, convert my source code using this builder image to my application image. That's it. So it's really useful if for the people who wants to deploy their applications as Docker images, but don't want to write any Docker files or like that layering structure. Does it make sense? So there are two steps here. One is creating the builder image, and another step is creating the application image. This is done by only few of the people, and this is done by major folks in the organization. It's all about adoption of containers in an organization. Because when you start containerizing your applications, right, there is a lot of friction between teams um, to adopt this technology or not, because some people say no, I don't want to do all this fancy stuff, I just want to focus on my application, whereas some people are tech savvy, or maybe they want to, they're container savvy. I would say it's not that other people are not tech savvy, but some people are interested in writing these base files, but most others they just want to focus on application. So in order to avoid that friction, in order to basically get best practices of writing Docker files, and also best practices of writing like secure containers, not just containers for the namesake of writing containers, but secure containers. So all these pieces comes into picture when you use S2I as your image building process. Does it make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, Chakradhar, I have one question.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I need one clarification.
Yes.
Ideally, a developer would use a Docker image, build a container from that Docker image, and write his code in that container, right? So that is the ideal thing. But what you are going to do is you are going to avoid this layer, and you are going to give him a chance to build a code, uh, use that builder image, and create a new application with their code. Is that right?
Uh, Sort of. I'll give some analogy so that it's easy. So have you used Heroku? Heroku or any other PaaS solutions. So all you do is basically you have a Node.js source code or maybe a Java source code. You want your source code to be deployed on a Heroku platform, right? All you do is just say you select the Node.js template and then you basically add your source code and then that deploys on your PaaS platform. So how does it get deployed? This is what happens inside. This is what happens inside maybe a Heroku builder image or Node OpenShift. What happens inside is developer only cares about source code. Let me show you an example that makes it more clear. So I'm going to start up a local OpenShift cluster, OC cluster up. That gives me it looks like I have already one cluster already. I'm going to log in here. Okay, I'm a developer. Let's assume this is same thing with Heroku as well. Okay, it's no different from Heroku, but this has more capabilities although. So all I do is I select a template, let's say a JavaScript template, which has Node.js. Okay, this Node.js template, and select that, and then give my name, app1, and then tell where my source code is. Okay, so I'm gonna say my source code is here, and then hit create. Okay, so as a developer, did I write any Docker file here? No. Okay.
No.
This is where you're getting using this source to image. So that builder image is what you see here. So you see a template here, right? That builder image is nothing but this thing. So as a developer, I just go to console and then deploy my application as container. I don't need to worry about writing any sort of builder image, or any sort of Docker files or Docker related stuff. My source code will be automatically converted into a Docker image. But who will create this builder image? A person who knows Docker well will create that. So maybe who are interested, right? Like you might create one builder image and ask all your developers in your organization to use that builder image to directly convert their source code. Okay. So to compare between the normal process, like when you adopt Docker, you basically go with a bunch of Docker files. Like you write a Docker file, do a Docker build, and then you get Docker images, right? So instead of that, you basically use a Docker image. Instead of that, you basically use a builder image that someone has created. That's it.
Okay, so for every type of code, there will be a different builder image. For Java, it is what you have done, and for another thing, there will be another builder image.
Yes, exactly right. If you want to take a look on the Java as well, let me show you that. Java, I have two examples, one for Java and for Node.js. So this is Java example. In the Java example, if I go to assemble and run, so ignore these two. There are some advanced concepts, but this is what is important. You go to assemble. I'm going to copy my source code into some folder like Catalina Home Web Apps. All right. And then for running, like I say, so this is for var file. I have a var file inside temp.src. I copy it to web apps folder, and then how do I initiate that? Okay. But instead of copying, after you can have Maven build commands inside this assemble part. So you can make it as complex as you want. So what this gives you is a big like customization on how your build process will look like. If you are going with Docker files, you will do the same thing, but at the cost of understanding how to write a Docker file, all these pieces. But in this case, it is pretty simple. One assemble file, one run file. You just use those two and then you are good to go.
Okay.
Yep. Any other questions? So my application got deployed, and then basically have this. Okay. So looks like my this domain is not working, but you get the point, right? Like remember this structure. basically ops will create builder image, developer will create an application image using that builder image. That's it. So if you understand this well, it's pretty easy to understand the source to image process as well.
So what kind of
Chakrathar, I have.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
So what kind of contents go in builder image?
Your builder image will have a base OS, which is CentOS or RHEL or Ubuntu, and and also it has a S2 scripts which I mentioned, and your application image will have your builder image plus your dependencies and like how to run your application, all these pieces, your source code, dependencies, and everything.
Okay, so usually builder image is at OS and S2 layer only, is it?
Sorry, your voice is
Data.
breaking.
So I was asking, builder image is usually OS plus S2I related files. That's it, is it?
Exactly. Yeah, you're right. You're on the right track. Yep.
It wouldn't have any data related.
No.
You wouldn't have related to your web app server, application server, or anything like that.
It can have in the case of Node.js, it doesn't have any application server, but if it is a Java, it can have application server, but no var files or your applications itself. So in case of Java, let's assume you have a Tomcat based application. So your builder image will be a CentOS and a Tomcat installed. Okay. And your application image will be, your builder image will be CentOS, Tomcat, and your S2S scripts, 3 things. Whereas your application image will be CentOS, Tomcat, S2S scripts, and plus your var file or jar file, like whatever your artifact is.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does. I mean, one more follow-up would be, what if there's a database component on my application too? I mean, where would be the ideal place for it to be in builder image or my application image?
Databases are always application images. Yeah, this is mostly useful for the web apps, or like you build your so most of databases are you just get it as an application image. You don't need to do any source to image for that. So if you have a database, you basically run another container which is having your database and link it with your this application image, this application container. I have a video if you want to see. I have a in all senses, this is a pure. Sorry, let me go to my channel. So this is OpenShift Container Platform. I covered most of the topics like intro, agenda, how to set up OpenShift, and also like most other concepts like how to deploy database and link it with your application. All these concepts are covered in this channel if you want to take a look. Right. Any other questions?
Yeah, Chakrathar, I have a question, not on S2I, but OpenShift. If it is okay, I can ask, or otherwise we can discuss offline.
Can we discuss offline? I have a meeting to jump on, like right now. So,
Yeah.
But feel free to reach out to me on my Twitter. If you don't have my email ID, just reach out to me on Twitter. If you think this is useful, please tweet on Twitter so that we can make it useful for many others as well. This is my Twitter ID. I'm gonna share these 2 links inside chat window. With that, let's conclude this session. I'm gonna quickly put my other examples also in the chat window. Okay, feel free to grab from there. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining.
Thanks a lot.